A year ago, on the 30th of November 2022, OpenAI introduced generative AI, heralding the greatest technological leap of our times. ChatGPT, a marvel in machine intelligence, swiftly captivated the world, achieving 100 million monthly users within just 2 months of its launch. Now, big tech swiftly recognized the signs, and Microsoft boldly made its third and largest investment in OpenAI, pledging a staggering $10 billion along with more to dare Google.
They will definitely want to come out and show that they can dance, and I want people to know that we made them dance, and I think that'll be a great day.
Google prepared to embrace AI, countered with a strategic move led by Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai.
With generative AI, we are taking the next step. With a bold and responsible approach, we are reimagining all our core products, including search.
But not everyone was on board. An open letter endorsed by Elon Musk and over 30,000 others urged a halt on training AI systems surpassing GPT-4 for a minimum of 6 months, advocating a thorough assessment of risks and challenges. As predicted in the letter, layoffs began and the global workforce stared at the danger of being replaced with AI. Even Hollywood went up in protest. It was clear that governments needed to build guardrails, as the technology is powerful to be left in the hands of corporations. Testifying before the Senate, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman agreed.
I think if this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong, and we want to be vocal about that. We want to work with the government to prevent that from happening.
And the message resonated, prompting the U.S. Senate to summon big tech leaders to talk policy. Meanwhile, Amazon entered the fray, placing a $4 billion bet on OpenAI competitor Anthropic. In the intensifying AI race, establishing a responsible framework gained prominence at the AI Safety Summit in Britain. The Bletchley Declaration, signed by over 25 countries, including India, the US, EU and China, has marked a pivotal step forward. Now, a year since the launch of ChatGPT, regulatory uncertainty remains, but OpenAI and other frontier AI labs suggest that what we've seen so far is just the tip of the iceberg.
We do all of this because we believe that AI is going to be a technological and societal revolution. As intelligence gets integrated everywhere, we will all have superpowers on demand. We hope that you'll come back next year. What we launched today is going to look very quaint relative to what we're busy creating for you now.
A technological and societal revolution. Well, since its launch last year, ChatGPT-like models have globally transformed the AI landscape. So while India ranks first in AI skill penetration and boasts of a fifth of the world's AI talent as per NASSCOM, the country's seen about $3 billion flow into AI startups in 2022, compared to the US, where a whopping $47 billion have gone into newly formed artificial intelligence companies. Hello and welcome to YoungTurks, India's longest-running show on startups and entrepreneurship. I'm Shereen Bhan. To talk to us about how far we've come and what our priorities need to be going forward, we're joined today by Umakant, chairman at Foundry and co-founder of AI and Robotics Technology Park. We also have with us Dhrupal, Shah, the co-founder of EdTech AI startup STEMpedia, and Anuruddh, Mishra, the founder of August AI, a platform that gets you personalized answers to your health questions using AI. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on the program. Umakant, my first question, where are we today in the AI journey?
So thank you, Shereen, for having me on the show. Very quickly, I've spent almost like last 15 years in the AI space. Built the first AI chatbot company in 2009-10. There were only 4 guys trying to do that across the globe. I also co-founded the first AI-focused venture fund called Pi Ventures. Co-founded a not-for-profit Art Park AI and Robotics Technology Park together with the Institute of Science. So spent a fair bit of time. And ChatGPT, as you rightly pointed out, it's a seminal moment in human history, because for the first time, we have English as the best programming language for machines. And we are at a cusp of what I call as the intelligence economy. By 2030, we're going to create $15.7 trillion of new economic value with that. So some massive change that we are actually standing on. And it's very important for us to actually understand and unpack it a bit, right? So if I look at 1975, that was the time when we had connected up to 1 billion places with rails, with roads, with flight, with water, and we could sell the excess production of one place to another. And that was the the birth of the industrial economy, or the height of the industrial economy. By 2009, we had done the same with connecting people with internet, emails, social networks. And we were actually having what we call as the knowledge economy, where we dominated, and we had companies like Wipro, Infosys, TCS, and we know what they did with it. Now, ChatGPT signifies this beginning of this, what we call as, the intelligence economy. By 2030, we're going to have like 7.5 billion people connected with 30 billion machines, right? And forming what we call as the, the core of the, the intelligence economy. Now, if we don't transition our lead, which we actually had with the knowledge economy, into this massively emerging intelligence economy, it could be a massive disaster. And, fundamentally, I see we need four critical ingredients for AI success. We need data, we need talent, we need compute, we need capital, right? Companies grown in India, and you might see some of them right now, and have supported, invested, close to 17 of them in India. What we have seen is that they're grown in India, they're able to leverage rich data and abundant AI talent to create robust and safe AI. And then they're able to take it to Southeast Asia, Middle East, Africa. We supported a company called YSR.io, which is now the largest mental health chatbot platform in the world, right? And 60-70% of the traffic is now coming from outside India. What we are seeing is a massive deficit is what we call as compute and capital, right? As you rightly pointed out, I mean, till 2022, we had like close to $248 billion invested in US as compared to $7.5 billion in India. So it's I see a clear gap of like 35x, which is very, very difficult, right? So we need to figure out ways to how do we increase the capital behind AI in India. The second big challenge that I see is compute. I mean, just to put, convert GPT into ChatGPT, you needed AI superclusters, right? I mean, the largest GPU cluster in India is like, say, 700, 800 GPUs at the moment. And when we have to talk about exascale AI computers, we're talking about $500 million of investment. And that's where the race is going. So we somehow need to figure out ways to bridge this gap, both in capital as well as in compute. And it is critical that we do that really fast.
So on the two critical challenges of compute and capital that you articulated for us, what is the way forward? What do we need to prioritize in being able to bridge both these very significant gaps? What's the role the government can play? What's the role of the private sector?
So I think there are two things that are very, very critical. One, we need to find, if you have to bridge both these gaps, we need to find credible ways of bringing public and private sector together, right? So whether it is in terms of maybe we need to create a large, public-private fund of fund just focused on AI, right? And maybe it could be like a $10 billion fund of fund, and maybe government can say, okay, I'm going to contribute a small amount, maybe less than $500 million or so, but then the rest money could come from the private sector guys. I mean, there are large pension funds, who are looking to put money into India. And that fund of fund could then power, multiple, AI-focused venture funds to put money into the AI companies. That could be, one approach that we could actually look at. And maybe government could incentivize, creation of some of these venture funds, because the risk-taking capital has to increase behind AI companies. The second one I see is very critical is what we was talking about, compute. And maybe we need to create our own sovereign AI cloud. Maybe we need to create these companies. Maybe we need to provide incentives to grow such companies, because today, if I see, there's a massive challenge, in terms of, one, we don't have a sovereign cloud. If I look at China, they have Alibaba, they have, Tencent, they have Huawei, all of them actually created their own, clouds, but we don't have that. And given that, AI or the intelligence economy is going to become, $15.7 trillion of new economic value is a massive opportunity. If you have to hit like 35 trillion by 2047, a large chunk of that has to come from something which has never been created before, and that's where this intelligence economy figures in. So I think if you have to, make a attempt, and credible attempt at that, right? And we are seeing that today, right? Like if you look at OpenAI and where they're going with it, right? I mean, just one company consuming $13 billion of capital, right? So I think even if we are not able to, get to that number in terms of purchasing power parity, we need to, maybe 10x our numbers in terms of capital, right? So instead of maybe 3 or 7 billion, we need to go to at least 70 billion.
But Dhrupal, let me come to you now, because you started your AI journey with your company STEMpedia in 2015 to address what we just heard there from Umakant. To start with, the aspiration that you have in light of the experience as well as the opportunities that you see, and how do you believe that we need to address some of the gaps that we just spoke of?
The transition is happening at a so fast pace, right from the exams and everything being kind of tried to be solved by AI or ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Now what we see is we need to prepare the students how to compete or how to do the work in the upcoming years, right? What we are talking about as the intelligent economy. So in that, what the most important thing will be how the students learns about the computational thinking, how they can do things by their own hands, what we call as experiential learning. So we are creating tools and technologies for students and teachers, how they can train the students on the upcoming technologies of the future, like AI, robotics, and much more on that. We are preparing the tools. Our tool called as PictoBlocks, which is an AI and robotics education platform, is nowadays used by more than 180,000 students across the world. And out of that, only 35% is from India. And we see that more than 6,000 schools are now already using our platform. So that's what is the reach of AI nowadays. And students and teachers are able to understand that, because they also think, including the governments, what we are talking, or including teachers or parents, they see that the use of AI in this will become so prominent in our life that it will be kind of the core essential technology for us.
What is the revenue that you're targeting, and are you profitable already?
Okay, so yeah, our startup journey has been very different than what we see in a lot of startups being covered on the media. So we started from pretty kind of as doing a crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo in 2017. It was the first university student-led project which got global funding, as in pre-orders of 45K USD. And we delivered more than products in more than 30 countries before our graduations. So that was the starting point. And today we have revenues of more than 2 million last year, last FY23 we closed, and with a profitability of more than 1 crore. This year we are now looking to close more than 6 million revenue with a profitability. That's what is the target. At the same time, we create and we focus a lot on technology creation, and we are already collaborating with some of the leading IITs in the country and foreign universities like Malta University and in Finland, because they are kind of one of the pioneers in what we call as an experiential learning. And the focus is also our upcoming focus is on training the teachers and building a huge fleet of educators to impart the skills in the schools.
But Anuruddh, let me come to you now, because you're essentially the new kid on the block, at least as far as this panel is concerned, starting your journey in 2022. I want to understand from you the use case as far as what you're hoping to do, how you intend to disrupt the healthcare space, and what is the key differentiator, because there's many that are promising or trying to offer disruption in the healthcare space using AI and specifically generative AI.
Yeah. So I think we've basically gone after a problem statement that, the current version of LLMs are really good at solving. There are 1 billion health-related searches that happen on Google every single day. And those are happening from people that are really frustrated about their health, and they're not able to get the right answer because you're just getting blogs and you're left to decipher all of that on your own. Our sort of core August AI engine is really good at giving like personalized, high-quality answers to people there. And in order to do that, we basically had to build the most powerful, AI health engine in the world. So we've beaten OpenAI GPT-4, Google's MedPalm 2 on, all of the medical benchmarks that matter. And on top of that, we've sort of put it on WhatsApp, and we're distributing it for free right now. and letting people sort of clear their health doubts and seeing very healthy sort of adoption from people.
In terms of how you're different, Anuruddh, if I were to ask you to sort of, in a line, tell me what is the key differentiator as far as August AI is concerned, what would that be? And more importantly, what's the aspiration? What's the funding plan? Where do you want to see yourself over the next few years?
Got it. So I think in terms of how we're different is we're doing everything sort of extremely focused on health. So simple example, GPT-4, you can upload a PDF today of, say, your lab report and ask it questions. August is a lot better at extracting sort of all of those information, taking your, say, a medical scan, extracting text from that and helping you understand all of that. So that's one differentiation that we have. Plus, we're solving for the consumer, building a consumer product. We've built proactive agency into August, right? How many times, like whenever you have a fever, August will, if you've talked to it about it, will come in and check in on you for that. We've launched about, 3 months back. We're sitting at about 14,000 users right now. And we're currently in the process of raising our seed round.
Okay, currently in the process of raising your, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so in terms of aspirations, I think it's basically looking at, can you become the front door for, how people navigate their health? Basically saying that, okay, instead of going to Google and being very worried and then just getting 20 minutes with a doctor, can you come to August? It connects you to the right person. It, orders your lab test for you. It gets your medication for you, makes the entire process of taking care of your health, which is extremely important and something that people don't end up prioritizing until it's too late. Can it be a lot more proactive in taking care of you there, leading to much better health outcomes for everybody?
Okay. So, Umakant, I want to come back to you and focus a little bit more on the India AI strategy, the country strategy that we must have, as well as link that to the purpose of trying to use AI as a digital public good, which is what we've done with the India Stack, etc. as well. How does that fit into the economic strategy that you were speaking of?
So I think fundamentally, we have to look at three major aspects, right? So one is the foundational aspects. And I think that's where, we need to grow many more, openai AI equivalents out of India, right? So because, the best programming language for machine shouldn't be just English. It should be, Indic languages. And I think there's some very interesting startups that are coming up with that space. And we need to figure out a way to actually help them grow much faster. Because it's important that if we have to unleash, it's not that AI is going to supplement human effort or replace it. In some sense, human plus AI is actually going to make the output far larger, and I think that's an area that we need to grow. So if you have to actually make billion plus Indians look at leveraging AI, then it has to be in their language. So just ChatGPT has to be Indic GPT or whatever, equivalent, right? So that's actually number one, I think, and we need to figure out how do we do that? How do we enable with capital, with compute, so that, because definitely, talent is there. And you saw examples of, Dhrupal was trying to, unleash 300 million students that we have in India, or, August AI, which is actually trying to leverage and create, healthcare, GPT equivalent out of India. So we see that, the roots are there. How do we unleash them at a much bigger scale is going to be challenged. So I think one is, the foundational aspects of AI. We need to figure out how do we actually turn them into, something that more people can use. And it's important that the diversity is there. So just like the way, human intelligence is very diverse, right? Like you have amazing amount of intellect about how to present ideas, and maybe we have some ideas about technology, right? So your intelligence is fundamentally different than mine, right? So I think that kind of diversity is very critical for human race, and because it has allowed it to flourish so far. So I think that diversity India has in terms of its rich data sets. We have like 5,000 years or more of knowledge, which actually has embedded into culture, right? And imagine if we are able to translate that into systems, right? And that could be probably India's gift to the world as well. And I think that is where the digital public good example or perspective is actually very powerful. So if I look at it, right, India, if it can convert its data and culture and practices into these intelligences, which could be then, powering, some of the other aspects that could be fundamentally very, very interesting. The second part that I see is that, AI is built for solving planet scale problems, right? So be it climate change. I mean, climate change is a very real problem. We might end up with, 4 degrees, higher temperature by the end of this century, right? What it is going to mean is that it's going to not only raise the water levels, near the shores, but it's also going to mean that more and more extreme climatic events will come inshore, right? So it's going to impact everyone, right? So now imagine if you're able to use AI, such a powerful planet-scale technology, to dial down the human drivers which are actually amping up this, climate change. We could actually have a very real solution. So I think AI and its usage in planet-scale, problems is a very fundamental, path forward. The third thing that I see, and it is very critical, I see that AI has a foundational impact on what we call as sustainable development goals, right? And I think at G20 we talked about quite a bit of that as well. And I think if we can pair achieving of the SDG goals with the AI revolution, we could actually have a much faster progress on that. Whether it is reducing, cost to access basic healthcare, cost to access basic governance, cost to access, fundamental, things like education, it could actually have a much deeper and wider impact on society. And I think, of course, it gets, AI is right now getting into the boardrooms with, all the dramas and, everything happening. But I think we keep forgetting that it's a very powerful tool.
Dhrupal, very quickly to you, what is the big constraint that you're faced with as you move forward, and what is the kind of capital requirement that you have, even though you are, you're starting to turn profitable?
Yep. So at this stage, as and when we are growing, right, the product development becomes more and more kind of tech-oriented, and the talent pool. Of course, we are having India has a huge population, and we are seeing a lot of India is a software superpower, right? So that's how we are figuring out. We are based in Ahmedabad, not the tier 1 cities of startups. And it is very challenging to get very kind of top quality startups. But thankfully, we have so good team in Ahmedabad, which is working day and night. Literally, we are kind of 6 days, and we work so hard during this time to prepare the things right for across the world. We are creating products here in India and delivering across the world. That's what kind of boosts our team a lot. We see stories from different parts of the world coming up, like students in Brazil or Turkey making kind of projects. Like a girl in Brazil made a digital spirometer and make a gamified AI game to do respiratory breathing exercise for young kids. So those kind of projects kind of excites us a lot. The next part is how we are looking to scale up. Is now the next step for next stage for STEMpedia is the global expansion. We started our subsidiaries in US and Finland for North American region and the European region expansion. That's the point. That's we already initiated. But for expanding in any country, we will need a significant amount of capital to kind of conquer the region and the schools. We recently tied up with 3 school districts in USA and now looking to work with European schools as well. Our products are very well utilized in the top schools in UAE, Singapore, South Korea. We have translated in multiple languages. So language is also becoming content availability and creating the content in different languages. That is also a very essential part of the next stage of our growth story.
Yeah, well, that was the point that Umakant was making as well. Anuruddh, very quickly to you, when do you hope to close your seed round, and what about your global aspirations?
So I think we're already global as things stand today. We have users from 116 countries. And I think it's because that problem statement is so globally ubiquitous, right, that we're actually able to, be in that stage where people are pulling the product out of our hands. We've doubled in our user base over, just the last month itself. And I think that basically means that if you look at our competitors, they have raised, tens to hundreds to billions of dollars. And we've built like a similar product on top of just being bootstrapped. So we do see like a very major capital requirement that needs to come in if we as an Indian company, want to compete. Because there will be somebody that will look at this idea, in the US and try something. And we don't want sort of, funding to be something that becomes a blocker for us there. So we're hoping, on the back of sort of all the growth and the adoption that we're seeing, we should be closing our seed round pretty quickly.
That's it then on this episode of Young Turks. From all of us here on the team, thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned. The news continues right after this.